Good evening, everybody. It's Monday evening and it's the long weekend of Canada Day weekend. So Margaret and I only managed to get together today at this time. So hello, Margaret. How are you this evening?
I'm good. Thanks, Karen, for having me back again. I always enjoy getting together and finding out what we're going to talk about.
I know. Well, we kind of throw things out randomly. We don't always know what we're going to talk about. And today's no exception to that. We didn't know until earlier on this afternoon. And so one of the things that we want to talk about today is the power of our words, and not just the power of the words that we speak to other people, but more the power of the words that you say to yourself. Every single thing that you say internally, your subconscious is continually listening. It is never turned off. It's listening 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, and processing every single conversation that you have about yourself. So that's where we want to dive in today, because I know my inner voice says things to me and it's like, oh my God, like I look in the mirror and go, oh my God, Karen, you're going gray. Or, you take a sideways glance at yourself walking past a big window and go, oh my God, you don't look as good in that as you thought you did. And this is all an internal conversation that the
Mhm.
subconscious is never not listening to, that we set things up inside of ourselves that the universe actually aligns to bring us about what we feel and what we think about. And you know that better than anybody because of the vision boarding that you
Mhm.
workshops that you do.
Yes. Yes. With the vision board workshops that we do a lot of deep diving into how do you use them. And a lot of it is around visualizing what it is that you want to achieve in the future you want to have. But it's also talking in the positive, believing that this is possible, believing that it will happen, and having a lot of faith in yourself that you can achieve these things too. And we do a big part of our of the workshop that we do is really looking at what are the things that you're saying to yourself that may not be so positive, right? Do
Mm-hmm.
you say,
Yeah.
I'm really overweight and I'm never going to lose weight? Or do you say, alternatively, it's like, I'm going to choose to live a healthy lifestyle. Let's, as opposed to I'm going to lose weight because I'm fat, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
people will say that about themselves, and the your subconscious picks up on that, and the universe picks up on that, right? The feelings that you have, it all comes down to the feelings. And when you say things that are negative about yourself, even if you don't even realize you're saying it, somewhere in your body's saying it, that's what the universe hears. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to lose weight, guess what? You're never going to lose weight
Yeah.
because that's what's going to happen. You've already decided. But if you say, I'm going to start living a healthy lifestyle without putting the specific parameters around what that looks like, all of a sudden you're doing things a little differently. And you maybe not, you're making different choices. And the same thing about, probably the biggest one that you and I hear in what we do in coaching is, I'm not good enough,
Yeah.
right? I'm not good enough for this promotion. I'm not good enough as a mom. I'm not good enough as a partner. I'm not good enough as a driver. I'm not good enough as a PTA person. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Pick whatever poison you want to put in there.
Yeah.
And that is probably one of the deepest things that we live with for a really long time. And we may not even know that it's
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing about you talking about the things that we say, the subconscious doesn't know when we're joking either.
there. No.
So we can say some jokey negative things about ourselves and somebody might pull us up and we go, oh, I'm only joking. But you've already said it. You've already
Hmm.
said those words out loud, or you've already thought those inside your own mind. And again, your subconscious is always listening and wanting to validate within your
Hmm.
circumstances what you talk about the most. So one of
Hmm.
the things I would invite people to think about is, if the way you speak to yourself, if your best friend or your husband or your wife or your partner spoke to you in the same tone you speak to yourself and say about you what you say about yourself, what would you do with that relationship? Would you kick the relationship to the curb? Would you tell them, you don't get to talk to me like that? Or would you go, oh, they're just talking to me the way they always talk to me? Because that's what we do to ourselves every day of the week when we speak negatively about ourselves. And knowing what I do with the sound therapy and everything else that I've practiced over the years, and the fact that we're mostly water, anybody that's looked into Dr. Emoto, our cellular crystalline energy takes on those patterns. When we speak negatively about ourselves, that crystalline energy holds that pattern of what we say. And eventually it shows up in disease, disharmony, or a life going in a way that you say you don't want, but really you have said you wanted it by saying, I don't want that.
Exactly, because the universe doesn't hear the don't.
No,
They just hear it. They just hear, I want that. Like when people say, I don't want to be broke, they hear, oh, you want to be broke. Okay, great. Let's organize that for you. Let's make that happen for you. So I think that's one thing that people need to be aware of, is when you're speaking out loud and you're thinking out loud what it is that you want for yourself. Don't negate it with a, I don't want this. Put in what you do want. I want this, or I am this. One of the things we talk about when I do the vision board workshops as well is around writing down your I am statement in a positive way, right? I am beautiful. I am worthy. I am enough. I am successful. I am, a great partner. I'm a wonderful role model for my daughter. I am capable of managing a hugely successful business. I am financially responsible. I am. So putting in those I am statements in a positive manner, start writing those out on a regular basis. Write them, read them, say them out loud. Your brain doesn't know any different.
no,
Your brain believes, like you said, it believes whatever you tell it.
exactly.
So repeat that over and over again, and you're going to create those new neural pathways in your brain that's going to be your go-to thoughts. And wow, watch your life change when you're living in that particular frame of mind.
Yeah. I'd even say, if you can journal. So if you're a busy mom that's got a couple of kids and you're working, or your life is busy, and you find yourself as you're driving to work is like, oh my God, I'm late again. I didn't pack the kids' lunch, and I didn't get to the soccer match, and I'm a crappy mom because I didn't do this, and I'm a crappy employee because I didn't do this, and I'm not showing up in my relationship, so I'm a really crappy wife, or I'm a really crappy sister, or I'm a really crappy this. Look at the way you speak to yourself with that, and start writing those down. Start looking at the way you speak to yourself. Put them in your journal, and find somebody that you resonate with within your family, or a coach that can be your accountability buddy, if you like. That when you have those negative down days, that you feel like you woke up late and everything that you do just turns to shit, and then you're going, okay, and then you're down on yourself, criticizing yourself, picking yourself apart. Find somebody, like say somebody close to you, or a coach that you can have them help you redirect and show you, tell you the experience that they see about you. Because I mean, you and I have mentioned this before. I have an image of myself, you have an image of yourself, but every single solitary person we know each has their own individual image of who we are. So who are we really? And we never really have been taught to see ourselves in a positive, affirming light. We've all been entrained to look into darkness and into the negative side first, and very few of us, until we do deep dive work, start to believe the positive, that we are worthy and we are capable. So having somebody in your life that you can call and say, you know what, I'm having a really crappy day today. I spilt the coffee, I forgot to feed the cat, I was late for work, and I'm a shitty boss, a shitty mom, a shitty this, a shitty that. And they can go, wait, hold on. And then start to redirect. That's another way of being able to look at that thought pattern that we have going on, that can sometimes end up being on boarding you on a catastrophic train of thinking that takes you somewhere where you don't want to go in the future.
Oh, I love that idea. I hadn't thought about an accountability buddy for positive thoughts. That's fantastic. I'm calling you when that happens. I'm giving you, and you're on my speed dial.
And
The I love that idea. I really do, because I think there's power in hearing somebody else say the words to you as well, right?
oh,
There's
absolutely.
that energy exchange when you're feeling really crappy about yourself and you're really not talking well about yourself, and you have like your bestie, or you've got that person that you can trust and you can call them and they can tell you all the good things. Hearing it from someone else is a great sort of a kickstart into getting yourself into that. I would also go further and say, have a list of all the things that you find amazing about yourself too. And it may be hard at first if you're not used to looking for those good qualities. Write down whatever comes to mind and keep building on it. And you know what? Tape it in your on your mirror in the bathroom, or put it on your phone as your screensaver,
Yeah.
right? Make it so it's accessible, so that when you're having those days, if you can't reach that accountability buddy, you can at least look at something that you've written that is positive about yourself too, right?
Yeah.
Just to change your feeling. I know I've had those days where I get up in the morning and I can be grumpy in the morning till I have a coffee and I wake up, and especially when the dogs wake me up early. So you get up and you're like, ah. And if you're in a negative mood or you're kind of grouchy, take a look around and see what happens. That's the time where you stub your toe, you spill the coffee, you're late for work, you're in a traffic jam. It's like everything starts from that negative place.
Yeah.
Then reverse that and see the days that you wake up going, all right, today is going to be a good day. And it's an outlook on the day. It may not be about yourself, but it's that positive, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this outfit looks really good on me today. And I got my favorite shoes, and I grabbed my coffee, and I got the best parking spot at work. And today's been a really productive day. And it has to do with how we approach it. But when those positive things start happening, we start saying more positive things about ourselves too. But if we're in
Absolutely.
a negative frame of mind and negative things are happening, then it's our fault and we're the bad person and we're feeling negative about ourselves. And it's
Mhm.
interesting how that all plays together in how we talk to
Absolutely.
ourselves.
No, I completely agree with that. And coming back to the accountability, maybe out there you have, let's just say, three friends, three people that you have known for a long time that you trust and value their opinion. Message them and ask them, what do you see as my best qualities? What do you like most about me? And see if all three of them come back with something different, or see if all three of them come back with something the same. Because if they're coming back with similar or the same things, you know that that is absolutely something within you that you haven't seen within yourself. And maybe you can put that on a post-it note and say, this is what people really feel about me. This is what people really think about me. Because we spend so much time wanting to be validated, wanting to be seen and heard, but we never really take the time to ask the people that we love closest to us what they really think or feel. We just assume that they have a negative outlook about us. They think we're lazy, or they think that we're, a little half-assed, or they think that we, bad timekeepers, or whatever that is. So when you start to ask people what they really truly feel about you, write it on a post-it note and stick it somewhere where you can remind yourself, actually, this is what Margaret really thinks about me, or this is what my friend Brenda really thinks about me, or this is what my friend Amy really thinks about me, or this is what Rebecca really feels about me. And then you can validate that back within yourself. On a day that maybe you don't feel that about yourself, something went sideways, you stubbed your toe, you kicked the cat, you did everything else and nothing. It's just that energy spiral that keeps.
Yes.
The best analogy I've got is, we all now know what tornadoes do, and the devastation that they cause. Well, that one negative thought that you have, or you stub your toe in the morning, creates that cyclone or that tornado within your own energy and vibration, that the angrier you get, it starts sucking and pulling things in around you. That by the end of the day, there's a complete devastation around you that was created by that one event that happened in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah. And I think the sooner you can recognize that and actually consciously and intentionally change that for yourself. For me, I know personally, if I find that I'm getting into that crabby, negative first thing in the morning, kind of mood, I need to stop and sit and meditate, even if it's just for 5 minutes. It's
Yeah.
just slow myself down, slow my brain down, recenter. It's almost like a do-over, right? I'm like, okay, so it didn't work first thing when I got out this morning. I'm going to try it again. And it makes a world of difference. A
It does.
world of difference. Just, and it doesn't mean you have to sit there for an hour, but just give yourself a moment to sit and think and make a conscious choice in that moment, not to be in the negative, to be in the positive.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to tell yourself, right? Okay, I stubbed my toe. It's done. It's over. The rest of today is going to be a better day.
Mm-hmm.
Today is going to be a good day. You say that to yourself over and over for a couple of minutes. Guess what? Day's going to be a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my go-tos is my essential oils, and I just happen to have
Mm,
one here that I love. And this one's called Hope.
mm,
It's a roller bottle. And even just rollering this onto your hands, taking yourself, if
mhm,
you work, take yourself to the washroom, take yourself to the car. If you're with the kids, take yourself to somewhere where you can have a 2-minute timeout, and literally just put an essential oil on your hand and inhale it. It actually changes that pattern of thinking and that brain chemistry, so that you can actually start to take a longer breath and to let go of some of the anxiety that you're actually feeling, to take you out of that negative talk
mhm.
spiral that you may be in.
Yeah, I like that. I've
Yeah.
got essential oils as well. And I actually, I burn a lot of incense at my house. I've got a bunch of different flavors. So depending on what kind of mood or what kind of scent I want, I burn it all the time. And it's incredible the instantaneous change in my mood and outlook and presence just by burning something that smells really nice. So the same with essential oils. Smell is a huge impact,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Huge impact. And people don't realize just how affected we are by our senses. It's not just what we hear, what we
No.
smell, what we see. Look at something pretty. I have a bouquet of flowers sitting down by my desk.
Yeah.
I look at them and it just makes me smile, right? It changes that. It changes what that is. Got a picture that my daughter drew, 6 years ago on my wall. It's
Hmm.
beautiful. I look at it, it makes me smile. And it just takes you out of that moment. Because, I know we all get caught up in work, right? We get frustrated at work, or we get behind on something, or project's not going the way we want it to. Stop, breathe, do your five senses check. Have you heard it? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you taste? What do you feel? Go through that and
And
just sort of, and
that.
how can you do it? What do I see that's positive? What makes me smile? What smells good? What feels good? What sounds good? And that, you can do that in 30 seconds.
Hmm. Yeah. I know when it comes back to the conversations that we have in our own head,
Mm,
and how we think and feel about ourselves, and some of the topics that you and I deal with when we're coaching people.
mhm,
Like you mentioned earlier, a lot of those are, I don't fit in, I don't belong, I'm weird,
mhm, mhm,
nobody likes me, I made a big mistake, however, X amount of years ago, and people still remind me of it.
mhm,
And um or another one, money, that's another big thing that everybody has that perception about money and what we believe that is. And
mhm,
so when you look at the conversations that you have in your own head and what we say about it, I know me growing up, particularly the one with money, and you might identify, I don't know if it's the same in Canada as it was in the UK, but one of them was, money doesn't grow on trees.
Oh, heard that all the time. All
Or
the time.
if there was somebody that had something, oh, that's for those kind of people. Or
Mhm,
they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, or
mhm,
they're privileged, or they're this. And it sets up that dialogue in our own head that we are not the same as them. So
mhm,
when you look at your body image, if you have body dysphoria, and what doesn't matter what you wear, you don't feel comfortable in it. If you've been brought up looking at glossy magazines with models, and everything that we do now, we can change the filters and make our skin look better and this look better, and we have this false perception,
mhm,
and that's all of that negative conversation. So being really, really mindful of how you speak to yourself, and perhaps this might be even the first time that you've actually taken account of how you speak to yourself. You're going to be really, really interested on how you do dialogue with yourself, because the only relationship you have that you will never ever be able to walk away from, divorce, or close the door on, is the one with yourself and your own conversation going on in your head.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. And that's when
Right.
you want to have a good conversation. And
Right.
really, you're the person you get to be with 24/7.
Yeah.
And you ultimately are the only person who can decide what you make these words mean about you. You are the one who gets to decide what that conversation in your head is.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one who gets to decide whether or not what other people say about you is true or not. Right? So,
Yeah.
words, yes, words have so much power because we attach so much meaning to it based on our past experiences and our inner programming and how we, created stories about ourselves over time. And learning to recognize those stories, learning to recognize what we've been sort of telling ourselves over the years, and realizing that we can change that story. That's a
Mm-hmm.
really powerful position to be in with yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
To be able to turn around and go, no, I don't like that story. I'm not going to tell that story to myself anymore. I'm going to change the story, and I'm going to use words that mean more to me, that are more positive, that are more accurate, that are
Mm-hmm.
more of a reflection of all my positive qualities and the good things about me, rather than believing the stories that you thought people had thought about you or you thought about yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I know how difficult that can be. I mean, I think I've
Hmm.
shared this story before. You know, when I was younger in school, I was actually made an example of by a teacher and slapped across my face, told I would never amount to
Mm,
anything, and told to leave the classroom and stand outside of the classroom with my hands on my head. And
mm,
as my peers were filing past me to get out of the classroom, this teacher berated me and told me, I was worthless. I wasn't going to amount to anything. And this tirade went on. And I grew up because I had learning disabilities that I didn't even know I had until I was 30 years old. I grew up with my mantra in my head was, I'm not very smart. I
mm,
can't go after that job because I'm not very smart. I can't go and do this because I'm not very smart. I'm not clever enough. I don't want to embarrass myself by trying to do something that I'm not really going to be very clever at.
right.
That was my mantra inside of my head. I was the one who was validating that all of the time. And it wasn't until I started doing my own deep dive work that I uncovered a lot of that, and also recognized there isn't just IQ, there's EQ, there's an emotional IQ, that I have very, very high emotional IQ. And when I recognized that and changed my story, because I gave all, and I mean all of my power away to anybody that was academic,
Mm,
anybody that could quote verbatim from a book, anybody that was quote unquote intelligent and smart and had degrees and letters after their name. All of my power went to, and I became submissive, and I
mhm,
became small, and I became this person that just cowered and listened, because that was the story I told myself. I told
mhm,
myself I wasn't smart. I repeatedly told myself I wasn't smart. The universe then validated that I wasn't by bringing more academic people into my life,
mhm,
for me to prove to myself that I wasn't very smart, because everybody around me was really could quote things verbatim from books and gave that impression. And again, it wasn't until I changed it in me and changed the story that then
mhm,
changed my whole outlook on how I
mhm,
perceived myself as being either smart or not smart. Now I would tell people, yeah, I'm smart. And now I'm not lying to myself.
Mm.
Right now I am not lying to myself. But before I uncovered why, if I'd have said, yeah, I'm smart, I would have been lying to myself. Right, I would have been lying to myself, because my louder voice, the one that I believed the most, was that I wasn't.
Yeah, that's a hard one. And I think you're not alone. I think there's a lot of children, a lot of kids all over the world that grow up being told that they're not smart and they're not going to amount to anything. And so their growth is like their dreams of what they want to achieve get stifled before they even have a chance to form.
100%.
And in what I do with the women that I work with, we're finding joy for them again. We're finding dreams that they want to have again. And when we dig deep enough, a lot of it comes down to the stories. And some of them were told that they weren't smart, that they were stupid, that they weren't going to amount to anything. A lot of them were told they were worthless. Others were told they didn't mean anything, or the actions of the people around them made them feel small and insignificant. And when you peel back those layers, yeah, it can be painful to come face to face with those feelings and those memories. But I'll tell you, when you can shine a light on them and peel back the onion, the power in
Yeah.
having that awareness and being able to go back and change that story for yourself, change the words, change the story. Like what you did is like creating that. I have the emotional intelligence. I'm extremely smart in that. And so smart isn't necessarily book smart. It's smart in so many different ways. But we are raised to believe that smart is one way and one way only,
Exactly.
right? I think more and more people are realizing it may not be, but it back then you were a product of your society, and unfortunately, a really yucky teacher. It was not a
And
nice
that's no
teacher.
different. That's no different than
Mm-hmm.
what kids are experiencing right now. It's no different
Mm-hmm.
at all from what kids are experiencing right now in school. So when we look at how we can validate somebody and how we can support them in living their dreams, is to recognize that we have our own. And like you said, we have our stories. You and I, and everybody listening to this, we are the only architects of our own story. So yes, we experience life. Yes, some shitty things happen to some people. Yes, people have an amazing story to tell. But it's only when you can look at that story and claim it, and then ask yourself what it means about you, that you can then become the spokesperson or share what that was to somebody else, and maybe be the light in somebody else's life. Right? But until we recognize how we speak to ourselves and bring ourselves down on a daily basis, that's where the work has to start. It has to start with, what do I say about myself? Is that really true? And if not, what is true?
Yeah, I love that phrase. Is that really true? Because how many people have actually stopped and asked themselves that question?
Not
How many people
many.
actually? Nobody stops and says, "Is that true?" How you're questioning yourself, you're questioning your thoughts. Like, is that
Yeah.
true? And you know what? 9 times out of 10, when you ask that question, it's like, of course it's not true. Yet, that's what I still say to myself, or that's what I still let people say to me, and I believe it.
I remember a long time ago, many years ago, I had an acquaintance in my life that was going through a pretty horrendous time, and she was at a point where she wanted to take her own life. She was done. She was done. And those words, nobody loves me, nobody cares, nobody needs me here, nobody wants me, I'll be better off gone. And I remember asking her that question, but is that really true? And she answered, no, it wasn't. No, it's not true. People will miss me. People will this, people will this. And fortunately, she got the help that she needed, and she's still here. But how many times do we believe a story about ourselves that isn't the truth, that takes us down that very, very, very dark place that we don't feel there's any way out of? And what we really need is someone to shine the light and go, that's not really true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know for some that have experienced some tragic things, that might seem very simplistic. And I'm not here to, you know, take away anything that anybody's feeling and experiencing. But for anything that goes through our mind on a daily basis,
Mm-hmm.
we have that opportunity to change that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have the power to think about ourselves however we want.
Yeah.
So why not choose the good stuff? But that's really hard for a lot of people to do. I think because we are born with judgment, right? It's one of our fundamental abilities. I think it was born out of, trying to keep ourselves safe when we were prehistoric, right? Going out of the cave. Is it safe or is it not? Is it a sunny day? Is it a dark day? Is that a big tiger or is it not? And judging whether or not we had the safety, and progress, 3, 4, 5,000 years into the future. And here we are. And I don't know if my timeline's correct. No, really, really good with it.
It's all
On that
good.
one. But you project now, and it's like we still have that
Yeah.
judgment, and we are our worst judges. We are
Yeah.
so quick to be negative about ourselves. And I'm really, you start to wonder why. Well, there's lots of whys we could get back into, but we are our worst critic. We
Mm.
are the worst judge of ourselves. We will be harder on ourselves than anybody could ever be on us.
Yeah. Yeah. There's two things that came up when you said that. First one was, we're afraid to be judged by others, but we judge ourselves most harshly.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one that was why? And it's because we are entrained to people please and to expect outside validation from others before we value ourselves.
That
And
is
that
true.
is what we are trying to change. This is not what we're trying with. This is what we are changing. What we're doing, we are changing that, because with everything that you hear here, or you watch on any other podcast or read in a book or anything, you can't unhear it, you can't unsee it, you cannot unknow it, but you can choose to ignore it. And maybe the timing just isn't right for you. Maybe something else needs to happen for you to recognize all of that within yourself. But ultimately, you are the only one, the only one that can change how you feel about yourself, how you talk about yourself, what you say about yourself when the lights are out and the covers are over your head. You are the only one that can change that.
Yeah. Wow. What a great conversation today. I love this one. This was deep.
Me too. It's something that's really, it's something that I am really, really passionate about, and claiming back that self-worth that was given away unknowingly. Right? We didn't knowingly give our power away. When we're born, we don't knowingly give our power away. We are nurtured and cared for, and we are told we're unconditionally loved until we get to an age when now it's conditional. Now there's a condition on me loving you, because if you're not a good girl or a good boy, you're not getting that treat. If you're not a good girl or a good boy, you're not doing this and you're not having that. So everything's set up then on a level of being a good girl or a good boy, and how we perceive that we're seen by the world.
Yeah.
But you are good in who you are, and it's just reclaiming that back and knowing that you're worthy of claiming that back.
That's one of the things that we're actually going to be talking about at the girls' camp this summer, is we're really helping them focus on looking within for validation rather than having to rely on the outside world. So I'm super excited to be able to do that with them. And get them started younger.
Exactly.
Younger than at the 40, 50-year-olds that we work with. Yeah. I'm excited that you're going to be there too. The girls are going to learn so much.
I am excited to be part of that. Well, Margaret, I want to thank you again for being part of you and I getting together and sharing, just having a conversation between the two of us, because, you and I don't know everything, but we can share what we do know, and we're still pulling away layers from the onion as well. You never, once you start on a path this way, you're never not growing and evolving. You're never not, experiencing yourself in a very different way. But for everybody that listens to these podcasts and shares them, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing so, because you never know who needs to hear what we're saying. And somebody may need to just hear this today. They've been sat on the fence waiting for something, or they have been berating and pulling themselves apart. And perhaps they just needed to hear that there is another choice, and the power's in your hands to do that. So thank you again for joining us. Sorry that this podcast is late, but we are here on a Monday. And it will probably be uploaded on Tuesday morning, but there you go. Have an amazing time, amazing week, and just take note of how you talk to yourself, and maybe just share it with somebody and see how you can change that within yourself. Margaret, thank you so much. I so appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Karen. Bye, everybody.
Bye for now.